that I am so incredibly honored, excited, and awkward to be standing here in front of you today. So thank you in advance for bearing with me. I know it's been a long day. So I first just want to open up with a question. How many of you remember getting your acceptance letter to BSU? Just like our radio show. That makes sense. That was pretty recently for many of you. So, like many of you in this room, I also remember getting my acceptance letter to BSU. I remember it sitting in my spot at the table, and I remember opening it, reading the congratulatory response, and promptly throwing it in the trash. So to say that BSU is my last choice school would be a huge understatement. I had only applied to it as a safety, which means I didn't go on the campus tour, I didn't research the college, and I didn't look into any aspect of the university because I didn't think that I was going to have to. And then a week before my acceptance letter was due to the university that I would be attending in the fall, my parents sat me down in the living room with a loan calculator and a box of tissues. And they told me that I would be paying for college completely on my own, and that I would be walking away with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt if I went to any other university. So after letting that information sink in, after processing a little and crying a whole lot, I finally made the decision to come to BSU in the fall. So upon coming to orientation, it was no secret that I did not want to be there. I sat in the seats that you're sitting in right now. My RBF was really bad, so I made this face whenever somebody approached me and tried to tell me about the school. And I spent most of my time wishing that I was somewhere else. I was wishing that I was sitting in the auditorium of the university that I had worked so incredibly hard to get into. Orientation in and of itself was something that was really hard for me. Meeting new people is overwhelming, crowds are just a lot for me to handle, and icebreakers are my own personal hell. And it's not to say that I didn't participate, because I did, but it was a lot harder for me than for the outgoing individuals within my group. And this is why it caught me by surprise that on the last day of orientation, my OL came up to me and he recommended that I apply to be an orientation leader. And I remember looking at him like he was crazy, because there was no way that someone like me, somebody who didn't want to be here, someone who didn't like being around people, could be an orientation leader. But this is the problem. We have the tendency to think of a leader as fitting a set stereotype. We think of someone who is loud and commandeering and forceful. We think of the first person to raise their hand in a group, and we think of someone who fits a specific mold. And if we don't fit within that mold, we don't think that we have the capability to lead. We feel undervalued and unappreciated. But instead of viewing ourselves in this way, we should be viewing ourselves through the eyes of others. We ourselves are the only person who can hold us back from accomplishing anything. So instead, look to others to guide you. Look to your mentors and to the people who will foster that potential in you, just as my orientation leader did for me. Upon coming to school in the fall, I spent a lot of time in my room. I didn't have very many friends, and I wasn't involved in any way. And then one Wednesday afternoon, my RA approached me, and she asked if I wanted to go with her to a meeting for the Residence Hall Association. And I was really apprehensive at first, because like I said, I don't like meeting new people, and crowds are really overwhelming. But after some begging, I finally agreed to go. And it ended up being the best decision that I could have made, because it was in that room that I met my future boss. And it was in that room that I met some of my best friends. And it was in that room that I finally gained the confidence to become president of the organization 3 years later. So step outside of your comfort zone. Approach new situations with a sense of ambition and the drive to learn from them. I know it's corny, but it's true when they say that you're going to miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. All it took was that single 1-hour meeting for me to change my entire college career. Taking that first uncomfortable step can lead you to a journey that is full of success. The following semester began my sophomore year and my most successful semester here at BSU. It was during this time that I joined a sorority on campus and I became an RA for the first time, and I was starting to finally feel at home here. At the end of the semester, one of my sorority sisters approached me and she recommended that I ran for president of the organization. And again, I looked at her like she was crazy, because there was no way that someone like me could run an organization of 75 women. But the thing is, I could, and I did, and I still do. I've had the opportunity to go to 2 different states and meet hundreds of people who share the same values and ideas that I do. Me, the unconfident person who walked through those doors as a freshman, finally gained the courage to do something like this. It was also during this time that I started my year as an RA in Shade Hall. And on the first day, I was really excited to get to know each and every one of my residents. I was going to get them enthusiastic about BSU and ready to start their first semester here. And after relaying all of this information at the first floor meeting, I was met with nothing but blank stares. But this didn't stop me from trying. I worked really hard to get to know each and every one of my residents. I made sure that I was available and that they knew that they could come to me if they needed anything at all. And at the end of the year, it all paid off, because one of my residents came to me with a letter. And in that letter, he stated that I was his role model, that I was someone that he could look up to, that I was someone who had changed his experience at BSU just as my OL had done for me 3 years ago. more in a box. And whenever I'm feeling inadequate, I read through them as a reminder of who I have impacted and of the person who I want to be. Because that's the thing. A leader isn't a set individual. It's someone who is constantly growing and changing and adapting. And each and every person in this room has the ability to grow during their time here at BSU. And if you let it, I promise you that it will be the best experience that you have. So take chances and be willing to make those mistakes. View yourself through the eyes of others, and most of all, believe in yourself. Because even though it's hard, it's the most important part. My dad often likes to tell the story of when I was born. And he says the first night that he was able to hold me in his arms, he pointed out the moon and the stars outside the window, and he told me that if I believed in myself, I could accomplish anything that I wanted to in life. And the thing is, he was absolutely right. Thank you.